Okay, this is some review information for the final exam for Psych 350 for summer 2011. When and where? Well, it's going to be on Blackboard, kind of like your other quizzes have been in the Assessments tab. It'll be available starting Thursday night, this Thursday at 10 p.m. But you must start anytime, or you can start, anytime before Friday 11:59 p.m. Obviously after Thursday 10 p.m. So you have a 14-hour window to start the exam. If you try to start it after that, it won't be available to you, and you would have a 0 on the exam. And you have about 3 hours, well, not about, you have exactly 3 hours to complete the exam once you begin. So once you hit go, start assessment, the clock starts ticking, and you have to submit your answers within 3 hours. You can do so earlier if you like, but you have up to 3 hours. Just make sure that you do submit them before the clock stops. Otherwise, sometimes Blackboard doesn't capture everything that you've written. One more thing real quick on that, when and where. You can use your book and your notes. But that's it. No using friends, no using other internet resources or anything like that. Should be completed on your own. Obviously, it's a final exam, but it is open book, open note. Okay. The format be a combination of multiple choice and essay. 32 multiple choice questions, which will be worth 70% of the final exam grade. Something that's very different on the final from your other quizzes. In your quizzes, you're able to see all the questions at once, right? And you can answer them in any order you want. You can go back and forth. On the exam, because it is a final exam and it is open book, I do place a few more restrictions on it. So you'll only see one question at a time instead of all the questions, and you can't go back. Once you've moved past a question, you can't go back to it. And it's not like, oh, if I answer it, I can't go back. Answer it or not. Once you click next, next question, you can't go back, even if you haven't saved your answer. So please save your answer to each question. So answer it, save answer, next question. Answer, save, next question. Otherwise, you won't get credit for your answers. But no, you cannot go back. It is different from other stuff. Okay, 2 questions per chapter. That's how we get the 32 questions, and it'll be kind of main idea stuff from the chapters. Similar in content to the quizzes. If you kind of know for the theory chapters, the theory that's described therein and all the mechanisms, you should be fine. And for the research chapters, it'll be kind of highlights of the research, kind of what do we know, not so much about what researcher found this, not that kind of level of detail, but what do we know about optimism versus pessimism, that kind of thing. For the essays, these would be interesting, I think. Questions about understanding and describing personality from a particular theoretical approach, and there'll be 3 of those, all similar in style. So I'll show you some examples here, and you can get a better idea. So the multiple choice, like I said, will be kind of like the assessment. So one from the Freudian chapter: moving from one stage to the next in Freud's psychosexual developmental model are associated with changes in what? Well, that's the focus of the libido, right? So that's one of the kind of the key points to Freud's theory. I'm not going to ask you, is it this stage or this stage, but overall the stages work because, and the stages are stages, they're different because the focus of the libido, the focus of the pleasure drive moves from the anal to the oral to the phallic, different areas of the body, right? That's the whole gist of his psychosexual developmental model. So questions like that, which that one is actually directly from one of your quizzes. And then the essay questions will have just a brief little description of some person's behavior or some situation. Right? So John's parents decided to throw him a surprise birthday party for his 25th birthday. And that's all you know about John. Right? So according to, and I'll put in some approach here, according to the cognitive approach, cognitive theory, what will determine how John responds in this situation? Right? So you got to think about, okay, well, what do the cognitive people say about what drives our behavior, right? So what determines our personality, and not and sometimes it'll be developmental stuff. A lot of times it'll be kind of in the moment, right now, and it'll vary by theory. But for the cognitive approach, you're thinking about, okay, well, it'll depend on if he's had birthday parties before and what he thought about those, about what he's thinking about the surprise, and then address kind of what aspects of what he's thinking about are going to influence how he responds, if he's going to be happy or upset, or, if he'll be surprised or he won't be surprised. So what kind of things will the cognitive theorists say? And one way to think about it is, well, how is what they would say different from, somebody else? And you don't have to write about that part, but just to be able to think about that, sometimes that'll help you clarify one particular theory's approach, and what they would say determines somebody's behavior in a given situation. Right? Okay, some tips for the multiple choice questions. Again, save each answer. Answer, save answer, then go to next. Be sure and leave yourself time for the essays. I'd say you can knock out those multiple choice questions in probably under an hour, which will leave you plenty of time, 2 hours, for those 3 essay questions. For the essays, I'd recommend you compose them in Word. You have Blackboard open. There'll be a space in Blackboard to enter your answer, and you won't have to attach a Word document or anything. You just copy and paste your essay from Word into Blackboard. And you don't have to do this, but I would recommend it, just because it's usually easier for most people to compose things in Word, because it has the spell check and the grammar check and all those types of things, which make writing easier. And also, if Blackboard happens to crash, which it's prone to do, you won't lose your entire essay. And usually when Blackboard crashes or shuts down, it saves multiple choice answers, usually, but it frequently drops, or essay answers disappear. So if you're writing it in Word and it crashes, you can still email me your answers. Hopefully it won't crash for you. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But just in case, I would recommend writing the essays in Word, copy and pasting them back into Blackboard. And then be sure to answer the question being asked. So if the question is according to the cognitive approach, even if you know more about Freudian theory, don't answer the question based on Freudian theory. The cognitive approach might say this, but really what's more interesting is, here's some stuff about Freud. Great, but that's not the question. So and sometimes that happens with people, focus on one particular thing, and they hope that's going to be on the test, and then they just dump all the information they know about that one thing. But that's not going to get you any points, regardless of how good the information is. If it's not pertinent to the question being asked, no reward for that. And the last tip for the essay, use terms from the text. And this kind of helps me be more confident that you know what you're talking about, and that you're talking about the right theory. If you're talking about a cognitive approach, instead of saying something like their behavior might depend on how much they value having a surprise party, or how much they value having people think well of them. Okay, that's fine to say that, but maybe in parentheses, put something like, i.e., reinforcement value, or consistent with Rotter's ideas about reinforcement values, the person might, and then talk about it. So kind of incorporate those key words related to different theories in your answer, and kind of embed those things, and that makes it easier for me to grade, to make sure I can give you maximum points. And it keeps your answers from being vague and more difficult to determine if the points are merited. Okay, that's it for now. Good luck.